You might have heard about George Soros, but have no idea what he does. You might have also heard about economic terrorism, but don't know what exactly it means. So in this three-part video series, let's first understand what exactly is economic terrorism, because it is necessary to understand what Soros does. But for that, we must understand how a forex market works. In foreign exchange markets, trading of currencies takes place, which means you buy one currency to sell one currency. Here, based on a lot of factors, the exchange rate between two currencies is decided. Out of those factors, the currency's demand and supply pattern is the most important factor. Let's understand this with a simple example, very basic example. Let's assume in forex market, this is the rupee dollar exchange rate right now. Also assume there are three people in the market, A, B, C. A has 1000 rupees which he wants to convert into dollars. B and C both have $100 each which they want to convert into rupees. Now A wants to make some profit in this trade, but first he wants to test the market, so he starts by offering 100 rupees for $10. And B and C both offer $10 for 100 rupees. They did this according to the market rate. Now let's assume B placed his offer before C, so he successfully exchanges with A. Here C's offer is left out. Looking at the speed of the transaction, now A realized that there is a demand for rupee, so he increases his bid. Now he offers only 90 rupees for $10. C also understood that the demand is shifting towards rupee, so now he wants to convert his dollars into rupees as soon as possible. So he immediately buys 90 rupees from A for $10. See how with this simple exchange between three people, dollars exchange rate decreased by 10 rupees. In real forex market, millions of transactions takes place in every minute and the exchange rate keeps fluctuating, but in a very small range though. Whenever this range increases, the probability for making profits also increases. Currency speculation. By now you all have understood the most important factor that decides the exchange rate of a currency. But in reality, a lot of other factors also influence the currency rates, like political relations between two countries, import-export trade deficit, country's inflation, interest rate of the currency, etc. Big investors and fund management companies who are very experienced in understanding these factors, they predict the currency's future rate and they bet on it. This process is called currency speculation in market language, and these people are called speculators. George Soros is also a currency speculator. In fact, he is the most successful one. So successful that he even framed his own theory according to which big investors like Soros can manipulate currencies of countries by making huge investments in the forex market. This part is the crux of this video. I want your full attention here. Now once again let's take rupee dollar exchange rate to be $1 equals to 10 rupees, and let's assume because of some factors the value of rupee might come down soon. Now as soon as this news reaches a speculator, he starts attacking. This kind of attacks on currencies are called speculative attacks. This attack can be done in two ways: mass loan strategy or short selling or forward contract strategy. In mass loan strategy, whenever there is news that a country's currency is not very stable, speculator will immediately enter that country and take a huge loan in that country's currency. In this example, he takes a loan from India in rupees. Now using these rupees, he starts buying dollars in the forex market, which will make rupees rate fall even faster. Also, he doesn't enter the market alone. He brings all his fellow investors who do these attacks every single day. The second method is short selling of a weak currency. In this method, the speculator creates a huge momentum against the currency by short selling it in huge amounts. In such a situation, the central bank of that weak currency country, which in this example is the RBI, will come for the rescue. Here RBI will have two options. First option is to fix or peg the rupee with dollar. Second option is to float the rupee. When we say we are fixing rupee to dollar, it means that we are trying to maintain rupee in a small range with respect to dollar. Now how is fixing done? RBI will have a lot of dollars which it has collected whenever rupee's rate was stable in the past. These savings are called foreign reserves, which you will hear about a lot in news. During a speculative attack, RBI uses these reserve dollars and starts buying rupees, which will drive the demand back towards rupee. A war will go on between the speculator and the central bank, but RBI will only be able to buy rupee as long as it has dollar reserves. This is one method to fix a currency. The second way to fix a currency is by increasing the interest rates. Higher interest rates on any currency will attract foreign investments. In this example, when RBI increases its interest rates on rupee, the demand for rupee increases. But this method is not useful every time because when the interest rates become too high, the country's businesses will slow down. In this war, if the RBI successfully stabilizes the rupee, then the speculator will have to face a small loss because now he has to pay the loan along with the interest. But if the speculator becomes successful in this attack, which happens when the RBI runs out of its reserves, then the currency will float. When rupee is set free to adjust its value naturally according to the market, it means we are floating the rupee. When this happens, rupee's value can appreciate, which is good, but it can also devaluate, which will be very bad situation. Because then imported inflation will occur, which means a lot of necessary things cannot be bought using rupee. Speculators want exactly this situation because obviously they will make the most out of this attack in that case. And one more thing, why do they even fix currencies? Why can't they simply float it before the attack even begins? There are two reasons for this. First, to avoid import inflation, and the second is to maintain trade balance. Let's understand this. As we know, India trades with a lot of countries. Let's say we have some trade deals with America. When the rupee value increases very much, obviously USA will prefer cheaper countries for trade. And if the rupee value decreases very much, then imports to India from countries like Japan become very expensive. So keeping in mind all of these factors like import export, inflation, interest rates, etc., RBI frames a monetary policy in which it sets a target to maintain the value of a rupee within a range. Speculators like Soros will try to deviate rupee as far as they can from away from this target range. The farther the deviation, the more profit they make through the attack. To avoid these kind of attacks, central banks of few group of countries create a policy called ERM to maintain their mutual trade and to avoid attacks on the currencies. ERM stands for exchange rate mechanism. Every ERM has its own criteria. Any country which satisfies this policy's criteria can join the ERM. One example of this is European exchange rate mechanism. These are the members of this ERM. However, ERM is like a raincoat. It can only save us from the rain. It cannot save us from a storm. And billionaire speculators like Soros attack like a storm. Their attacks shake economies. This much is enough to understand economic terrorism. I'll see you in the part 2 where I'll narrate few historical events where George Soros has shaken economies. Thank you. See you in the part 2.